Thinking about getting a Whoop Strap 3.0. Wait a minute. What's a Whoop Strap? Anyway, thinking about getting something to wear on your wrist and monitor your heart rate. Well, maybe the Whoop Strap 3.0 is perfect for you. Let's take a look. So after 120 days, I figured I'd give you my review of the Whoop Strap 3.0, something I've worn every day since I started. Only had it off a few times to when it got really dirty and needed to clean it. But other than that, I've worn it, slept with it, worked out with it, you name it. So, is it worth it? This is going to be my top 5 best and top 5 worst attributes of the Whoop Strap 3.0, things I've learned after wearing it for 120 days. And mostly good, but the final question we'll answer is, am I going to extend after the 6-month commitment? I don't know. Let's get to it. First up is, what exactly is the Whoop Strap 3.0? The Whoop Strap is a heart rate monitor, and really it centers around monitoring your heart rate 24 hours a day, and then it helps predict your sleep quality. Well, it doesn't predict, it tells you what your sleep performance is. It monitors your fitness performance, where it calls strain, and then it puts this all together to give you an idea of how your recovery is going, to see if you can perform better, and tells you what days you can perform better than others, and also what you need to do for sleep to get you the best performance possible. So it needs to record your heart rate 24 hours a day, and it uses something called heart rate variability. This is the main staple of where most of the data comes from, and that is just the time between your heartbeats and how that varies over time. It uses a measurement and uses that to track how recovered you are for the next day's activities. It is a simple wrist strap. You can see it's there. It's got a proprietary band on there, and the only other real accessory you need is its little charging charging dongle that you will have plugged into the wall, and then when you need it, you will just clip it on and it'll charge that way. Normally I've gotten about 4 to 5 days of use out of the Whoop Strap before it needs to be charged, and it sends a notification to your phone or your Apple Watch if you're also wearing one of those, and it tells you when it's about 20%, and then you just charge it, and it only really takes about 30 minutes to fully charge the Whoop Strap before it's back up and ready to go. And then you just wear it, like I said, for the next 4 days before you charge it again. You'll notice there's no time. There's no other display, there's no other data you'll get out of this thing while you're wearing it, so really it doesn't replace an Apple Watch or a Fenix or whatever you're wearing. If you need to tell time or want another data device wearable, then you're going to need something else. It's not going to do it all for you. It's just recording your heart rate, and the wrist is one of the main ways you do it. They also have ways for you to put it on a bicep, and some other methods, but really the wrist is what you'll see a lot of people wear it. If you are a serious athlete, you'll get a lot of benefit out of wearing the Whoop Strap 24 hours a day, because it gives you that idea of what your strain is like, your fitness output, and also how you're recovering, and then sleep quality. And so with all that, let's look at my pros and cons, the best features, my top 5, and then the 5 worst things, and then we'll wrap it up with, will I extend after my 6-month commitment on the Whoop Strap? And we'll talk a little bit about that. So let's get right to it. Let's start with the good. Always start with the good. And so the first thing I'm going to mention is you do get 24-hour feedback on your heart rate. And so there is a lot of benefit to that, and the number one being the heart rate variability. All the science I won't go into about that, but that the app tracks your heart rate and uses some sophisticated algorithm and analysis to give you an idea of what your sleep quality is like and what your fitness is. So that's a great number one thing, and really that's what it does, heart rate. So that's my number one thing, is it's nice to have a device that monitors your heart rate 24 hours a day. Well, you could say, well, what about the Apple Watch? The Apple Watch is a good alternative to that, but the battery life is such that you have to charge it at some point. It's not going to last more than 1 day. I have the Series 4, it's still been running great, but even the latest Series 6 doesn't last too much longer than what I've got on my wrist. So this gives you 24-hour a day coverage, and the battery lasts 4 to 5 days before you need to charge it. So that's number one. Number two, out of the gate, is that HRV analysis. There's not really anything else I've found that does the same thing. And again, you're using the Whoop proprietary analysis. I'll tell you what that heart rate variability is, that HRV score, which gives you how recovered you are at the end of the day. That's really what happens. My feedback has been, even when I sleep horribly, depending on what your HRV is, you might be primed for some activity the next day. So really it comes down to HRV, which this thing does pretty well, I would guess. I don't have another source to compare the HRV analysis to anything else. Number three, the band is ultra comfortable. So this edition of it is there's a nice elastic to it. It does dry really quickly because you'll wear it in the pool, you'll swim with it, you'll shower with it. And then it does dry pretty quick. I've never had any issues where a little bit later this thing was wet. So the band is super comfortable, dries quickly, no complaints whatsoever about the wearability, and it's lightweight. You can see it's pretty small, so it doesn't take up a lot of room. That's the wearability, and the band is a big part of that. So that's number three of my pros for the Whoop Strap 3.0. Number four is I do like the feedback that it gets you for sleep. And it is pretty good, and it does give me an idea of how much REM sleep I'm getting and how much deep sleep I'm getting for recovery. And so that's neat, and you can track that. It also lets you know what your disturbances are, how many times you wake up or stir in the middle of the night, as well as light sleep, and when you go to sleep and when you wake up. Other devices don't give you that level of fidelity, and so the Whoop Strap does a nice job of giving you that feedback for sleep. So I'm a big fan of that feedback. Now, whether it's accurate or not, we'll talk a little bit about that later, but it is nice to have that feedback to see and look at your analysis of how you're sleeping, so that you can, as you change maybe your diet or maybe a vitamin regimen or something, adding CBD into your diet, whatever it happens to be, you'll be able to get an idea of how that impacts your sleep night over night over night. And so that is a great and a big positive for the Whoop Strap 3.0. That's number four. Number five on the list is having an overall total day strain and calorie burn that is nice to see and know about if you're tracking the calorie burn for whatever dieting goals or weight loss goals or whatever it happens to be. So it's nice to see that entire day burn. It doesn't give you steps, other things. The Apple Watch does some of that for you. So I do like the ability to track your calorie burn throughout the day and include all of the activities and put it in one big total picture of your calorie burn and your fitness activities for the entire day. And so the Whoop Strap does that as well. Other activity monitors might do it just as well, but this does a pretty nice job. So that's number five on my list of positives. 5 things I really don't like about the Whoop Strap, then we'll put it all together and see if what my final conclusions are. But number 1 on my complaint list for the Whoop Strap 3.0 is its ability, or its lack of ability, to identify all the activities that you do over a given week or month. And the first initial couple days, month of wearing the Whoop Strap 3.0, it tells you it's essentially in a learning mode, and it's trying to figure out what your heart rate does over a time period. And so you'll go in there and you'll tell it different activities that you're completing, and then figure out, and then it should learn. Now, my experience, it doesn't do a very good job of that, and so the best thing that it identifies is sleep and running. And those 2 things it does pretty much flawlessly. But if you go to the CrossFit gym or you're doing a high intensity workout for 20 or 30 minutes with your heart rate elevated, and you've also told it several times before that you've done this, you may or may not get it to auto identify that that's what you're doing. And in my experience, it's about only 1 out of 10 times does it actually say you're doing something other than just going about your daily business. So that's my number 1 gripe about it, is that it doesn't automatically identify those activities. You can go in there later and tell from 10:05 to 10:15 you were doing a high intensity workout, and it'll log that, and it asks you some questions. When you do that, every time it pops up and asks you what your level of effort was, how you did, and whether you actually completed the activity or not. So that's something that is good to know and put in there, but it doesn't automatically calculate or identify those activities. Running it does, and sleep. So that's my number one gripe. Number two is the cost. $30 a month, and you're committed to 6 months when you buy this thing. Now you can use a link down in the description, and you'll get 1 free month on me, so then you're really only committed for 6 months but paying for 5. So that's a good deal for you. I'll also get a free month, which is fantastic. Not that it's going to make a difference to me at that point, because really after 5 or 6 months you're going to figure out whether this fits into your daily routine or not. Number 3 is battery life. And really, we can always complain about battery life. Everything is now improving. This thing does a pretty good job, like I said, 4 days-ish before you have to recharge. But, you know, could always be better. And so I'm complaining a little bit about the battery life, although I really think it's pretty good. And really, it doesn't compare to anything else. Maybe a Garmin Fenix would be, and maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I should test a Garmin Fenix, because the Apple Watch definitely doesn't have multi-day battery life capabilities that would be able to do the same thing the Whoop strap does. So that's number 3, battery life. Number 4, and I talked about as a positive, is, you know, monitoring your sleep. And I just question the validity of some of the sleep data that it's giving you. Not that it's, I'm telling you, and really what that comes down to is I've had horrible night's sleep, tossing and turning, had something on my mind, really felt like I got 0 sleep whatsoever. Finally wake up in the morning and this thing says, I auto-calculated your sleep, take a look. And I look at it and it says, you're 98% efficient at sleep and you're perfectly recovered for the next day. What? That's not how I felt. And so, but then that's what the data said. So I really sometimes question the validity of that sleep data. I haven't gone into the science of how it tracks and determines what mode you're in all night long to tell you what percentages you are for each mode of sleep. However, sometimes I felt like crap. This thing said I did awesome. So I don't know, maybe your experience might be different, but I kind of question some of the sleep data. But then again, that's just my experience. The last thing, and really this is a long-term, gets into kind of my conclusion and wrap-up, is this something you want to continue to wear 24 hours a day for the rest of your life and pay $30 a month to do that? So that's really what I'm coming to grips with, is it something I want to do and continue with? And really I'm struggling with wear this all the time, or just something you have all the time and use it for activities that you're already going to do. Anyway, so that's number 5, and that is, do you want to wear this thing every day for the rest of your life to track your monitoring your sleep? So that's number 5 on the list of the bad. So my final conclusion is, after 6 months, will I continue to pay $30 to have my heart rate monitored by the Whoop Strap 3.0? And right now, ask me now, and I'm only 120 days in, I got 2 more months that I'm going to at least use this. And I am doing some other activities in the coming months, a lot of running, so maybe I will need to know over the coming weeks and use that strain data. So right now, 120 days in, I'm saying no, there's no way I'm going to keep this thing after 6 months. But I've got a couple of things I'm going to test that might shed some more light on it, and so stay tuned. I will post a link up above to a video where I compared the data you'll get out of the Apple Watch to the Whoop, and then compared that to Strava that you get out of your phone. So you can watch that video to see what each of these devices gives you in terms of feedback. But at the end of the day, I don't think I'm going to keep it. It's going to be a thumbs down for the Whoop Strap 3.0 long term. But then again, I'm already wearing an Apple Watch, so I think I'll have a good bit of information from the Apple Watch to sustain. So with that all being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found any value in it whatsoever, please give it a thumbs up. That'll help it get tracked on the algorithm and get it to more people that might be interested in the Whoop Strap 3.0. Subscribe to the channel. I've got more videos coming in the upcoming weeks with some pretty exciting reviews on some gear that will get you outside. So please subscribe so you can see when that stuff comes up. There it is, my 120-day review of the Whoop Strap 3.0. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. So there you go, review of the Whoop Strap. There you go, my final review. That's the dog. Maybe I'll edit that out. Dog hacking up something. Anyway, so there you go, one of my final reviews. Nope, I don't want to say that either.